Good day, folks. Hello, hello. 'Tis the season to be jolly. Sort of. I'm quite broke right now, spending a lot of money on Christmas presents for people who may love me or may not. I don't know. How you doing, Josh?
Good, thanks. Kind of in the same boat. It's all about the season of giving, and then you realize how much you are giving.
Apt. Well, that's it. You haven't come on a show about Christmas. It's a show about science fiction and fantasy. That's right. You're here for the two Maesters, folks, and we hope you're having just a depressing time of year as we are, counting the pennies and all. So today we're going for something kind of special. We thought, as this will likely be our last episode of the year, we're going to have a bit of a wrap-up episode where we talk about the amazing trailers that have been released in the past 2 weeks. Like, wow, we've got Fallout, the TV show. We've got House of Dragons Season 2, The Boys Season 4, Dune Part 2, and of course Grand Theft Auto 6, which was just phenomenal. I'm very excited for that. Out of all these trailers, which one was your favorite, just to start things off?
I would have to say GTA 6, just because it came out, one, a day early, and two, like the wait, like it's the fifth game came out 2013. It's now 2023. The game's coming out 2025. Like the wait has been on for so long. Yeah,
it is true. Like there does seem to be a really big gap between GTA games. Like I still feel like GTA 4 with Nico Bellic is still like pretty fresh, but like looking at old footage of it, it's like the graphics are a bit like dated now for sure. But still, exciting times. So let's start off with watching the Fallout trailer. Woo! Awesome. Absolutely awesome.
It is.
Yeah. I've got to admit, I think they might ace it with this one, although trailers can be so misleading, can't they?
They can be, but I think they gave it to the right studio. I think, especially with the success that they've had with The Boys and also with Invincible as well, which is also an Amazon Prime show.
What's the name of the studio?
I'm not sure of the studio, but I think like the fact that they've given it to the fact they've actually given it to Amazon, which means one, they have the budget to then develop the show, and two,
of course,
it kind of has the feel. As I remember, like reading, the director said it was supposed to feel like a Fallout 5. That it's supposed to be like each of the main characters in the actual TV series
canon with the show game,
and we'll kind of like have like RPG elements that you actually see the point of view of like the three main characters in the TV series. And I think especially like the 60s and 50s vibe, especially with the music, with the tech, and also the violence, and it's always in Fallout, and also the quirkiness as well. That we all come to love in Fallout.
I was getting that quirky sense of humor from it, which is really good, because I don't like it when these things take themselves a little too seriously, and that's kind of one of the great things, especially about Fallout 4. There's always an option to be a sarcastic asshole and just say something really witty and silly, and it's just brilliant. I really like that about the Fallout series, despite the very doomy, gloomy aspect of it. And a key thing to point out is Amazon purchased the rights to develop a Fallout TV show in 2020, so there's probably a bit of doomy, gloomy feeling when they came up with this idea. I saw online some people weren't too happy about how the power armor looks in it, because I think it's CGI, but some people say it looks a bit plasticky. But I think we'll just have to see in the show, But one thing that got me thinking is, this, if it is CGI'd power armor with the Warhammer 40,000 TV show that Amazon are going to do with Henry Cavill, will they CGI in that, or will they use actual real? Because I do really like it when they actually use a proper props and stuff to actually make a great experience, as opposed to just CGI and you see the actors are bored, etc.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I really did love about Vikings and also loved about Game of Thrones is that the costume design was really on point, and you actually really see it. And to your point, hopefully that's something they do bring into the Warhammer 40k TV series, that it's not just CGI'd onto them, it's actual armor they've actually been able to develop, and it looks so realistic. Because it'd
be hard to do.
Like HBO Rome, I think another reason why I loved it so much was that the armor, the whole scenery was perfect. And as many people who are fans of Warhammer 40k, it's kind of like steampunk Rome, and then partly steampunk like the future as well. So it's more kind of like cyberpunk as well, that they do take a lot of the stuff from like Rome and also a lot of that imperialistic stuff as well.
Yeah.
That actually brings an element that hopefully they go more into that and more into that aesthetic. And to your point,
I hope so. Yeah, that's true.
There were also like people upset about the fact that the ghoulification of like one of the main characters wasn't as much as in the games. But then you also have to realize, it's also a TV series, and at times you can't have so much special effects on a character, because then it's like
it's hard to see them act.
And it's hard for them sometimes also to move. Because I know that in like Pirates of the Caribbean, the person who plays Bootstrap Bill, so Will Turner's father, he said he was in like a chair for maybe like 7 or 8 hours while they applied all of
that starfish on his face,
and like everything onto him. He had to stay still for 6-7 hours, and literally had to carry it. He had to carry it everywhere he went from scene to scene, and that's why sometimes he was sluggish and was slow to act, was because he had so much makeup on him. And I think that's a key thing, that we also want to see them be able to then act out the characters and not be like stuck down in the makeup they're wearing.
I thought the ghoul looked quite good in it, to be honest. Very close to the game as they could get, really. I just think I would like to see how the story will go, because it starts off obviously showing that she's leaving the vault, but I assume we'll get some story of what goes on in the vault, because the vaults, cool things about them is you come across all these vaults in the Fallout games, and there's always something that's gone wrong in them, or one was like a social experiment from the start, and it's like really screwed up and something nefarious went on. So hopefully we'll get to see like a Vault rebellion, and you see classic creatures in it, the Radroach, the bear. I can't remember the name for them.
Berserker? But that is a staple of Fallout.
The only thing we didn't see was the Deathclaw, which I bet they're saving for later. We'll see.
Probably the end of season 1, like
someone gets
out of nowhere and making sure that everyone's on the edge of their seat. Then bam, it appears, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, oh my no,
oh no!" Yeah, and then of course, out of nowhere, also appears Thanos, of course. That's the only thing the trailer was missing. There was no Thanos on it.
And I think another thing that I did like, that I've also found out about the trailer, is that people believe that it's 2 vaults. So the vault that she's leaving, and then there's also a vault where you see the guy berserk, blood all over himself, the woman who's got like a piece of metal in her eye, and she's shooting out a gun. That could be a completely different vault. And it might not be her own vault. And also someone did pinpoint that when she's about to leave, there's 3 people there. But then when she's about to leave the doors, one person's on the floor with their feet that you can see, and then there's 2 people standing. So potentially someone tried to stop her, and then she had to either kill or knock them out.
Or she's been
exiled,
maybe. Could Possibly. Be, potentially. Yeah. Could be the case.
Yeah.
A lot we could read into there, yeah.
Definitely. And they did say that her father is in one of the scenes, and people believe that it could be that she's gone to look for her father, and that one of the 3 people who are standing behind is also her brother. And then fans were like, well, since he's not really like trying to stop her, maybe he's like, well, if she wants to do this, go ahead. I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to leave. I'm fine the way everything is.
Yeah, she's a free spirit. Let her be. Or he just hates her. Who knows?
True.
But yeah, very keen to see how that plays out. And just a thing to pick up on is the director or the producer is Jonathan Nolan, who's obviously Christopher Nolan's brother. Okay. So high hopes. It runs in the family, good filmmaking.
Yeah,
like
the Scott brothers.
I know Ridley Scott. Why? What does his brother do?
I think his brother was also a director, but I think he passed away. But I've forgotten what movies he did. But then you also have the Coen brothers as well that did took over like Marvel and did like the Infinity Wars and.
That was the
sorry, that was the Russo brothers. There was the Russo brothers, yeah. the Coen brothers and another, I always somehow mix those two up.
Yeah, fair enough. And there's also the Wachowski twins as well, who did the Matrix movies and Speed Racer, but I can't remember what else. But I mean, Matrix, iconic, and unfortunately just went downhill from the very first movie.
Maybe we can do an episode next year about the Matrix. Yeah.
Oh, we need to. I still haven't seen Matrix Revelations, but I heard it was so trash.
Same here, I heard that as well.
But I think a clear thing here is that we need to talk about Fallout. I don't know how we haven't done an episode about Fallout, because there's just so much that's just such a joyous game. And the soundtrack, I love it how they've integrated that. They have to integrate it into us. There's that sort of 50s vibe, kind of what they did with Loki as well.
And also, like, for the fans, the settings is Los Angeles, so it's all out on the West Coast. And I think they said...
New California Republic must be in it, surely.
So they're saying that potentially... the Brotherhood of Steel could be up against the New California Republic, and that could be the people that they're fighting against in the trailer. And I think they said maybe 30 or 40 years after New Vegas is when it takes place. So it's also be nice because it is within the universe to see the continuation of the Fallout.
I mean, I guess so. What would they carry over from the other Fallout games? I guess you might see. I mean, Caesar's Legion, but that's more in New Vegas area. Although that's Nevada, so that's not far. So you might get some Easter eggs thrown in there about that. You'll definitely get Easter eggs from the game, for sure. Obviously, what's the floaty machine thing that always?
Oh yes, that thing.
What are they called? Mr. Gusty or something? Yes. You can ask him to tell you a joke, and he just tells you endless jokes that are very kind of like Alexa jokes, kind of like, and then that's it.
Also, that sea creature thing? Some people believe that it could be, I've forgotten what it's called, an axolotl. The thing that had the things on the side of its neck that comes out of the water in the trailer.
Yeah.
They believe it could be maybe a mutated axolotl, which is like an amphibian that is very white and has the things on its side of its neck. But they said someone slowed down the trailer, and inside its mouth, it has fingers as well. Yeah. So when I first saw it, I was like, is that its teeth? And someone was like, no, if you look in closer, it actually has fingers that probably is used to grab its prey. And it's just like,
I don't want to
how on earth did it get
I don't want to be on this planet anymore.
100%.
That's so foul.
It is.
That's one thing with Fallout is it is very gruesome. Like those cazadors you saw in New Vegas, just idea being stung by a gruesome fly and the venom getting at you, and something weird mutants and stuff. Well, the mutants actually looked kind of comical, but the just the mutated animals I found very disturbing.
Yeah,
which is quite kind of the sort of grimdark aspect of Fallout, isn't it? Because you've got this comical side and weird bits of beauty in it, but then. And with the music as well, but then also the really grinding, gross, gruesome reality of radiation. Okay, so that's Fallout. We've got a lot on the schedule today. So let's get up House of Dragon Season 2 trailer. Very cool. Very, very cool. I've got to admit, maybe the least exciting out of all the trailers, just because I'm starting to get fatigued. You saw a lot with Game of Thrones, all these different trailers, and it's always the same stuff, like a dragon roaring at one scene, and then someone a beheading about to happen. Maybe it's just me. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, and this is how we started off our podcast talking about House of the Dragon. But I don't know why. It didn't feel underwhelmed, but I felt a bit fatigued with this video.
Yeah. I'd have to 100% agree. I think it's because we've seen a lot of it before. So 2 rival armies, different houses within Westeros fighting against each other. And also, I think one of the things they've done, because it's the first trailer, they've also not tried to put as much information as possible.
Yeah, which is
so
good.
I think with House of the Dragon, especially because there is already a plot. And there is, for those who don't know, there is an actual book that's been written by George R. Martin. There's also what's happened within the universe of A Song of Ice and Fire. So I think they also want to hold off because they don't know how long the series is going to go on for. Because we all, myself and you, know what actually happens. Yep. But then the question is, how much can they fit in each individual series?
And also, how much will they change? Just like Game of Thrones as well. They might do another curveball with that just because there's too many bloody characters. For example, you can see this in the trailer. So you've got some characters such as Alice Rivers, Sir Simon Strong, Sir Gawain Hightower, and Alan of Hull, respectively, who will be very key pivotal roles within it. And also many of them are bastards as well. This is the series for the bastards, you know. It's all good. And, you know, I think there's some very cool things they show in that. Like, for example, Vagar flying over, like just the massiveness of that dragon is just impressive.
It is.
Like that's cool. I think they've worked on the CGI a bit more. I mean, the CGI was very good with the dragons in the first series of House of the Dragon, but I did notice the CGI for other stuff was like surprisingly crap. Like the CGI of King's Landing just seemed like really bad. Like they'd run out of money, or they're like, people here to watch dragons. Let's just put all the money on that.
And I think that's one of the things that they probably didn't put in the trailer because they want to surprise people. It is the fights between dragons. Like, that's something we haven't actually seen. We did kind of get like snippets of it. Yes.
That's how dragons sound.
Literally, because if you think about it, dragons are basically like spaceships firing at each other. If you think about
it. Phasers.
And I think like we did get a view of it in the last season at the end, but it was more of like one dragon trying to escape another. Not actually full on combat. And I think one of the things that people have said is like the dragons within Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, they're literally just like nuclear weapons. Like imagine a scene where you've got like an army of maybe of 40,000 soldiers and you just have two dragons that you can just annihilate everything.
Like Aegon the Conqueror did on the Field of Fire. I guess that's maybe a way they could ensure peace in Westeros. So if the houses all want to be separate, just give them all dragons.
The mutual destruction as they call it.
Although I guess I don't think it'll work as well as nuclear bombs, but close enough, though. Close enough. It's a good analysis, I'd say.
And I think a key thing that was said in the trailer is that that the gods frown upon the slaying of kin, and that's something that's like really within like the Westerosi custom, is that if someone's a kinslayer, that's probably one of the worst things someone can actually be. And you kind of see it in like Game of Thrones. Like so you had the Kingslayer, which was Jaime Lannister, and then
but he didn't actually slay any kin, if I correct. His brother, though.
His brother,
How have I forgotten? Tyrion slayed his dad.
Yeah, but then so did Cersei. She blew up.
She blew up
her uncle and her cousin as well.
Yeah, that's true. It's a shame she got killed by bricks in the end.
Her in-laws as well.
She needed like a more painful death. She just got killed by bricks in the end. Like, not very epic and heroic. But we'll definitely see a lot of violence in this. I mean, there was at least one beheading in that trailer. I know it down, so that's good. People being roasted alive as well. Damn.
Yeah, and I think also, I think I've probably said it on a previous episode, like the backdrop of this is a situation between the descendants of the line of Normandy, being kings of England, that it was King Stefan and King Matilda. Yeah. And that actually history is very similar to the House of the Dragon, that the king, his only son died when his ship sunk. So he then got all the knights of the realm and all the nobility to swear that they would then recognize his daughter Matilda as queen when he passes. He then dies. What do? Screw Matilda, let's bring in Stefan. And Stefan was then became king, and then the constant fight. I think it was like the first official like civil war of United England, and literally both fighting each other over the years to then come up with a compromise was that Stefan would be king, but then when he died, Matilda's son would then be king after him.
All right, well, sounds like a small price to pay. I really am just sitting in on these podcasts just to try and quote Thanos. I'm an apologist for him. Anything else you want to say about the House of the Dragon trailer?
I would say that seeing Corlys Velaryon in it, I think, is really nice, and just seeing like what role he will play in the war. Because after losing his son, who he believes is dead, as we mentioned, like when we were talking about House of the Dragon, losing his daughter, who's also dead, losing his brother as well. Is he going to be like, you know what, sod this, I've had enough of the Targaryens, we're going to move and leave that whole thing behind?
I doubt it.
But I think
there's always blood feuds.
But I'm thinking, like, why wouldn't you? Like, he's lost two of his children.
Yeah.
He's lost his brother. All he has now is his two granddaughters and his wife. And, like, is he then going to fling his granddaughters into war?
Or try and save him.
Yeah, like, is he... Because he...
I'll be quiet, I guess. I've read the book. Well, I mean, I think, probably someone would chicken out, but I think in those times, pride and blood feuds run deep, especially when you're the richest family in Westeros at that point.
True.
Sorry, I'm distracted. I'm just looking, because I never actually noted down the release date for House of Dragon Season 2. It's definitely going to be 2024, but there isn't actually one I can see online. Just one thing we didn't mention about the Fallout TV show is the release date for that is 12th of April, 2024. So, not long, only 4 months to wait.
Yeah, and I think that's what surprised people was that they gave themselves such a short window. Because, like, House of the Dragon, they said, like, in the trailer, like, summer 2024. So that gives them at least, they could push it into August or July, and that gives them 6-7 months.
Flexibility.
But then it must mean that Amazon has everything ready for Fallout. All they're doing now is just, like, the final bits of tweaking and editing, the last bits of, like, a post-production. Because, like, if you've given yourself that 4-month window, then you're probably just going to be using the time the next 3 months to then build it up and then release more information, have more, as you said, more marketing. And funnily enough, one thing that Amazon always does, which is always funny, is like if they have a really big TV series, they try and link it to like Amazon Prime. Because I remember like when Rings of Power came out, every packaging I got from Amazon had like Rings of Prime, Rings of Power are coming out.
Rings of Prime.
Well, technically you could call it Rings of Prime.
Jeff Bezos just swimming in it.
It's coming out on this date on every single product that they had. And I wouldn't be surprised if they do that again, because I think they realized that it could be a pivotal show for them, because they can then bring in like the Xbox like gaming audience, or even just the general audience of people who enjoy Fallout.
But it's amazing really, because it's like these TV shows, these universes have now become products of the IP products of these big companies and their big corporate conglomerates. It wouldn't surprise me if Amazon start making video games and start putting their name behind it, because they've got the budget to it, and the more people they bring over into it, you know, Rings of Power, Fallout, Warhammer, the more they will probably make a lot of money and just expand, and that IP will just go bigger and bigger. Although it might be a bit awkward with things like Warhammer and Fallout, because, you know, you've got Bethesda and Games Workshop are very careful of that IP, but just interesting to see.
And funny enough, they did make a game. It was like a MMO game that really failed. So
what was it called?
I think it was called The Old World. Let me just double check.
Wow, great name.
And I think the way they were doing it was that it was set like people from... So the trailer had like the ancient Romans, and then it had like the conquistadors who arrived at a place, and that they were fighting each other because the place was kind of like out of time. Let me try and see what the game was called.
It reminds me of that game For Honor.
Yeah,
that was a cool game. Apart from it, just playing online was so difficult. But it just wouldn't surprise me if these companies start making a lot more games. So that way they've just got this bigger IP, and they become these super state conglomerates that own all your entertainment, all your delivery and packaging needs. Soon it'll be like worshipping Jeff Bezos as a god, the god emperor of mankind.
Funnily enough, it's called New World. So the game was called New World.
That makes sense.
And funnily enough, Obsidian made a game called the Outer Worlds, and basically,
I played that.
And I think that's what people think the world will turn to, is that people are signed up to conglomerates and as an Amazon customer, as an Amazon employee, these are your benefits for the rest of your life. And basically Amazon has now gone to war with Apple or with Microsoft, and that could be the future. And especially like with Elon Musk trying to get to Mars, that people are thinking like, what will happen in the next 100 years? Would it be like corporations that will then explore space and then develop their own form of like colonies?
Probably, yeah. Because I mean, it's like it's only a priority when superpowers are competing. So maybe the USA and China might do it, but in times where there's not a Cold War, not such tension, it probably will fall to the private sector. Therefore, Amazon will, you got the you still got the American flag on the moon, and I'm sure a Soviet one and a Russian one there somewhere. You have an Amazon one there very soon, I'm sure. If I got aliens, what they discover, what is this symbol the human beings hide behind? It says Amazon.
And then thinking like a powerful race in the Amazon rainforest.
They'll go there, they'll land there instead of the USA, which they always do in movies. Yeah, interesting to see. I can't wait. Well, can't wait. I mean, more like, I'll say I told you so. We'll both say that to all you millions of viewers. Okay, just one last thing on House of the Dragon. What do you think the season 1 Rotten Tomatoes score was for House of the Dragon? Like the critics score.
Critics score. 92?
Wow, you're off quite sharp. 93%.
Okay.
Wow, I mean, that was pretty good. The other week you were very far off.
Yeah. That was my off day.
And what do you think the audience score was?
95?
No, actually only 82%.
Wow.
I think it's because there's not really like major battles in it. Maybe that's why it has a bit of a lower score, because there's some people who are super nerds like us that love the lore. Some people love the politics and intrigue. Some people just want to see the sex and violence. And whilst there was sex and violence in it, there wasn't like big pitched battles apart from that one in like, with the crab feeder.
Yes.
Oh, crab feeder, we'll miss you.
Gone too soon.
Gone too soon. Rip crab feeder, always in our hearts. You'll be feeding the crabs in heaven, I'm sure. What a great name. Okay, so let's look at The Boys season 4. This one I have a lot to say about because I just love The Boys. Not that I don't love House of the Dragon, but, I'm fatigued. It's hard for me.
And I think there's more to talk about with The Boys as well, as it's been expanded out a lot more.
Yeah, I'd say so. And yeah, you have Gen V, actually, so we'll have a chat about that in a second. Oh, yeah. Very, very excited for that.
Yeah.
What are your initial thoughts?
I think it is the perfect time to release this episode because I think... the whole season in and of itself, because people are talking, especially around the world, that democracy is failing, and that's why you're starting to get a lot of like populist people getting into power. You've seen the president of Argentina, the president of Mexico, the president of Brazil, as you've said, with Trump as well. Kind of similar with like Boris Johnson as well, a populist figure who seems to try and take dictatorish vibes, but has been voted in via democratic ways. And I think a major issue people are saying is that the issue with democracy is that, one,
people are stupid.
And there's an actual perfect video. I think it's a guru in India who's basically saying democracy is people who... So democracy is ruled by the people, for the people, but then he's like, but the people are retarded. And it's just hilarious the way he just says it and also his delivery.
Yeah, that's a weird way of saying it from a guru.
And it's just like the fact that people are starting to see, similar to what happened with Greece and also with Rome, which is a perfect example that The Boys take from, is that when people find like loopholes in democracy and seeing like whether it's British or American politics or even politics in general, people find loopholes to then be able to then make money off democracy, make the cash money, as we say, and that you then get an issue that democracy isn't then doing good for the people. And that's when someone then comes into that vacuum. The people see that, okay, democracy isn't working. These parties are basically the same. And then someone comes in, whether it be a Trump, whether it be a Bolsonaro, whether it be the president, the new president of Argentina, they come in with all the confidence and say, I can save this. Yeah. I can save it. And I think that's what Homelander's going to do in season 4. And I think that's what the cleverness that the whole statement throughout, linking it to like Julius Caesar, is that let everything go to shit. Don't get involved. Don't cause it, because people will blame you if you cause it. But if everything goes to shit and I come in and save the day, I'll be held as a hero, no matter the means or the avenues of me doing it, as long as I bring back stability and order. People will love me. And I think that will be amazing season to watch.
But then also, just like Caesar, you might get stabbed in the back by other members of the Seven, such as Starlight, even though he knows she's definitely not got his back. But yeah, I see what you mean about the crisis, because that's why you need to watch Gen V, because one thing they show in that, which wasn't apparent in Boys season 3, is society's really at the precipice of it's polarized. People are either really for the superheroes, or they're supes themselves, and therefore they're all for them, or they're not supes, or they're just completely against them, like Butcher. And people are starting to like really like get angry with each other. So there's that polarization going on, just like what happens with the right and the left. In real life, it's very much, it's almost like this is a complete satire of what's going on, because Homelander's like a Trumpian figure, etc. And then, can I spoil a bit of Gen V for you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, you've got to remember that there's loads of kids out there who their parents injected them with Compound V. So it's not just the 7 and everyone who's under the thumb of Vought. There's like loads of them out there. So it's almost like X-Men, the talk, like X-Men Last Stand, the talk of like supes and like government's trying to crack down on them and stuff, and they're getting anxious, and like there's some supes who like just want to be free, and that's totally okay. There's maybe some evil supes as well, like Homelander, but then there's also some good supes who are like in the middle, like the X-Men. But then there's also the normal non-soupy public who are just like, no one should have all that power, blah blah blah. It's really cool.
And I think what they've done is they've taken, I think, the good bits from the comic books, like of Civil War. Like Civil War that was in the Captain America film was like the tip of the iceberg of the whole thing with Marvel. And I think Civil War took place because these group of mutants were trying to take out this villain, but then cause a disaster as bad as like a nuclear explosion.
And it wasn't Thanos this time as well.
No,
that's the worst
they couldn't blame him. They couldn't be just like, oh, it's that alien tyrant that he did it. And it was like, no, it was like these superheroes were trying to stop a bad guy. So what they didn't realize was like they went above and beyond to try and stop the situation, which then caused a nuclear type explosion to take place. I think they said it was as bad as like a hurricane hitting like the place that it took place. I think it was in Florida. And then they were like, no, this is too far. Superheroes must be registered and regulated by the government, because you can't just use X amount of force to stop something, because it could then backlash against the people.
Do you know what's a great parallel? Team America World Place. Just like that, because there's always collateral, isn't there? And one thing that shows in The Boys is from the very start, the collateral damage, like what happens with is it Doug? Doug's girlfriend in the beginning. No, Huey's
girlfriend.
Yeah, in the beginning, she just gets splattered just because. Well, to be honest, A-Train was doing something bad there, but still, that's what's so real about The Boys. And in the Avengers, it doesn't come across so much. It more comes across that like the supes and that they're bringing bigger bad guys to them. It's like the escalation thing of between Batman and the Joker in DC. You don't see as much collateral.
You don't.
But then how many people die by accident because like Iron Man fired his laser things and that just
or even like Avengers, if you think about Avengers 2, where the Hulk goes crazy in South Africa, destroys a whole building and levels it, and then Tony Stark literally has to buy the building to therefore to say that, you know what, I've bought the building, it's now my building, he's damaged my building, so now it's kind of like cover up the damage that they've done.
He sounds like Vought, Tony Stark Industries, Vought, they're parallels, they're all the same to me. All evil. In terms of going back to some things I saw in the trailer, interesting seeing a actor from The Watchmen, actually, who played the comedian Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Great name, might I just add. Thank you very much.
Well, Jeffrey is a very good name, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And Morgan. Oh, yeah, I've got Jeffrey as well. Hi, Jeffrey. Shout out to Jeffrey. Just a little plug there. Cool to see him in this. I liked him in The Watchmen. Great actor as well. He's been in Grey's Anatomy as well, funny enough. That's the only other place I can think of seeing him in. But I'd be keen to see what his role is in this, because is he a soup? Is he someone brought in to help the boys? Is he a CIA agent? Is he Butcher's brother? So I swear Butcher had a brother. You meet his dad in one episode. Maybe this is his brother, actually. Possibly. So that might be interesting.
But he did kind of sound like he had an American accent.
That's true, yeah.
But then also siblings can be separated and have different accents, so...
True. True, but yeah, you would expect him to have a really over-the-top British accent.
Yeah.
Bloody diabolical. I actually prefer that accent than hearing us like, good day, sir. Yes.
A bloody diabolical, sir.
Yeah, well, quite. Yeah, exactly. I'd love seeing how Americans interpret British accents. Likewise, to our American audience members, I'm sure you hate seeing how we interpret you guys. We all just think you've got even New York or redneck accents.
Yeah,
There's no in between. Yeah. Like, it's pretty harsh. What else did I see? Will Homelander be the central bad guy? Because you see a couple other soups introduced in it. So there's one who, well, I thought it was Starlight at first, but it looks like she'll be the new member of the Seven. I wonder if she's going to be like either someone who's got his back in the Seven, or will she be like another nemesis, like for example Stormfront was? But I guess that'd be like, that's already been done. You know, They need a new formula. Because the thing is, it's always been Homelander and a bigger, more pressing bad guy. Like season 1, I guess it was kind of Homelander, but it was more just Vought in general and the system and various soups. Season 2, it was Stormfront. But it's always been Homelander who's like, crap, if Homelander cracks, like, no one can stop him. What can stop him? Season 3, it was Soldier Boy, funny enough, even though he could probably have stopped Homelander, but he's like worse. He's still technically alive as well.
Yeah.
Spoiler for Gen V, I won't say anything.
I think it could be, what if it's Homelander is a bad guy throughout the season, but it's more of a mission? So he's allowing things to happen to further escalate the situation.
So further manipulating,
and further causing things to then be polarized. Each side gets worse and worse. One acts against the other, and then tries to then manipulate to make it worse until people then cry out and say, "We need someone to save us."
Yeah, like with the soup terrorists. Yeah,
and then maybe having something that there is a villain that then tries to utilize the chaos, and then Homelander allows that to happen so that then he can swoop in, defeat the villain, expose the chaos, save the day, and be as violent and as evil as he can be and wants to be, and people will love him for it because he's brought back stability and brought an end to the polarization and also the destruction of America.
Yeah, I think so, because The Boys is so good. I imagine they've got more seasons lined up. So, and I think Homelander's a great character. Like, actor is great, Anthony Starr, but just the character himself, like, the fact he's a test tube baby born in a lab, and this is why he is the way he is, because he just wasn't raised in the right way. I would be sad to see him go, honestly. I think him and Butcher make The Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, as well as some other characters, like, you know, I forget her name, but the head of marketing, well, now the head of Vought, I guess. Ashley, is it?
Yeah, I believe that's,
Who wants their balls crushed? She has some serious, like, CEO rage, but I guess that kind of job probably does that to you. But yeah, very excited. I think of all these trailers, I think that is the one I'm looking forward to the most, because it's so great. It's really hits a what do you call the spirit of the times? What's the word for it? There's a word for it, but I forgot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you are right. I don't know.
Zeitgeist. It's like a zeitgeist, because it really it's a satire of not just the movies we watch and stuff, but also what's going on in society. So it hits that, and it's a comedy as well. It's so bloody funny. Like, it feels very original. It beats the superhero fatigue for me completely.
And I think one of the things I do like about it, it seems very, especially in the satire side, British-esque. Like, I don't think, like, if this was on Amazon, I don't think they could have got this on a major TV channel in America, just because of, like, how much
content,
the content, and also maybe HBO could have gone away with it, but some people might have pushed back based on, like, the satire and how closely it links to basically what things are actually generally happening.
Yeah,
but I think, like, that is an important part that people love to see in television, that they can actually relate to it. So it's not just like, oh, okay, this villain is now evil and now he's now being attacked. And I think one thing that I really did like about like Mr. Robot, which we could also do an episode about that.
I would need to read the book and watch it. Yeah.
I think the really thing that I liked about that was that it was talking about the financial crisis. It was talking about how the rich were exploiting the poor, finding loopholes, and then also it was linked to like a hacking group. Mm-hmm. And then also everything about Anonymous and other different hacktivists as well. Yeah. And then state-owned hacking groups within like China and all of that. That was all in the news. Yeah. So it was like teaching and getting a better understanding of like how hacking actually worked and how state hacking worked. And I think another thing is that it kind of gives you like a fantasy of like what would happen. You know, when people have those what if videos on YouTube, like what would happen if Superman did this? What would happen if a superhero had these powers and did this?
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm thinking like what would happen if like Homelander gets voted president of the United States?
I think that would probably end up happening or something. Or as he comes in as a hero, they'll get soups in the military.
Yeah, because like one of the things people have said is like certain dictators were actually voted into power.
Yeah,
and like even like with Caesar, he was actually he was voted consul, and then they tried to get rid of him with Pompey Magnus, and then they were like, you know what? After he defeated Pompey, they just said, you know what, we'll just kill him anyway. But then the funny thing is that they killed Caesar, and he wasn't even emperor; he was just dictator for life.
Yeah.
And then by killing Caesar, they then ended the republic by then turning it into an empire with Augustus. So literally,
for democracy.
So they killed him for democracy, but then caused an empire, which then they wanted basically their worst outcome took place because they killed Caesar.
Yeah, well, this is it. It's like be careful who your friends are when you're fighting dirty. So it's like with Soldier Boy in season 3 of The Boys. You know, they maybe they were getting too dirty. They're about crossing the line. You know, will they go too far? And we'll see what happens in season 4 because. Keep your hands clean, that whole philosophy. I really like seeing that come out. Just touching on that ancient Roman stuff. Me and my partner are thinking of getting a cat. We were like, I love cats who have very overly serious names in a funny way. And we looked up online, and one of them was to call the cat Caligula, like the emperor. Just like, hello, Caligula.
That actually would be a very, very funny name for the cat. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think that would be good.
And one last point that I found out is that after like Augustus took power with Mark Antony and also I think Lepidus as well, so they made the second triumvirate.
Yeah.
They basically instigated something that Sulla had instigated, who was another dictator, instigated like maybe 50 years before, which is like national prescription. So basically...
conscription?
No, prescription. What they did was like they wrote a list of names and they said that these are the names the state wants dead. Every Roman citizen has the privilege and the right to kill them on sight, and you'll be paid for doing so. So literally all of their rivals, they put like, imagine their government,
a bounty list.
Basically a government prescribing a bounty list of hundreds of names of people that they could just kill.
The FBI have a hit list. Osama bin Laden had a bounty.
But imagine like the government saying that any citizen could do it.
I wonder what it says, actually. I'd have to see that FBI list, because, does that mean technically any US citizen could claim a bounty could have claimed a bounty for Osama bin Laden?
I think they could have, yeah. But I think that is actually a very good question. Like if a random guy was like, you know what, he's over there, money please, would they be like, all right, here's the money? I
think I know how I'm going to get rich. Me and you need to go hunt down some terrorists. That's how we do it, baby. It's all about money these days.
And like, it was so bad on the list. I think Mark Antony's uncle was put on the list. And then his mum was like, I'm not speaking to you unless you remove your uncle from the list. And I was like, damn, it's that bad that they actually put family members. And
well, I could think of a few family members I want on the list. Jeffrey, I'm sure you want some as well.
And it's just ridiculous, the fact that you have the situation of the Purge, but basically the Purge films was like a time period where you can do anything you want. But the fact that a government literally said that these people can be killed in any way, shape or form you want. Just bring us proof that you've killed them and we will provide you with bounty for doing so.
Well, kind of, to bring it back to The Boys, I guess it's like the whole philosophy of Butcher that is like, we've got to stop them all any means necessary, and he will he's a bad guy, really, isn't he? And it's like crossing the line. Like, at what point does the force for good become also a force for evil? Because you'll see, watch Gen V. It'll make you think about how, are all soups necessarily bad? Because they're not. Starlight, you don't even need to see Gen V. Starlight's obviously a good hero, but imagine Butcher just killed her. Well, then he's the bad guy, really. And it's like, do governments do that necessarily with, justified force, etc.? But we could go on a full chat about this and get shut down by the FBI, NSA, GCHQ.
And funny enough, it could also lead into some of the stuff we'll be talking about later about films we liked this year.
Yeah, definitely. And also, we're about to do Dune Part 2, which is very elementally philosophical, so we definitely need to have a chat about that. So let's both get Dune Part 2 ready. Nice.
Okay.
So this one might be a bit easier for me to describe because I've read the books and I'm a super Dune nerd, whilst you've only seen the first movie just before we did that podcast. And you were quite knowledgeable, though.
Okay.
I can't wait for Dune Part 2. This was delayed because of the writer's strike, which we will talk about, which is over now as well.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
3, 2, 1.
Damn. So, what do you think?
I think it's very, very complicated. I think you get what the whole premise of the trailer is, but then I think, like, if someone's watching it for the first time, they then don't understand, like, the full depth of it.
Yeah, especially with, this is part 2 of what was the one book as well. I wonder how people who haven't read the book sort of encounter it. Because just thinking about how Dune Part 1 came across, I know you said it was good and you haven't read the books, and I know a couple of people who haven't read the books and seen it says it's good, but also some people who hadn't read it as well, who just didn't think, like, super much of it. Like, I thought it was fantastic, but then, I've read the books, and when they do a good interpretation of a book to a movie or TV show, it is something to behold, because that often doesn't happen. I think it'll be good, because I think Part 1 was good, and I don't know how they could screw up Part 2. I'm just curious as to whether they actually all filmed it all as one thing and then they split it up, but I guess not, because the writers' strike being on did delay this for a while, so I assume they still had stuff to film. Therefore, it was filmed in 2 parts. So I'm quite excited, really. I think it will be good. And I've seen a lot of Timothée Chalamet today. I've just watched Wonka there, which was really good. I'd recommend watching it. But Timothée Chalamet is just everywhere. You just can't get away from him. No escape. Soundtrack sounding good as well. Cool to see Christopher Walken in the movie as well. He'll be playing the Emperor of the Imperium in it, which is stolen from Warhammer. Actually, Warhammer stole it from this, so correction. Oops. So cool. He's great actor, Christopher Walken. I love the way he speaks as well. Just something about how his pitch and his voice. Very cool. The release date will be 1st of March 2024. Can't wait. It was delayed, so long time coming.
And I think one thing I really do like about it is that the special effects are on point.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've always disliked, especially when you've got like something that's so big and it's sci-fi, you have to have the special effects on point. And if you don't, it kind of then takes away from how good the storyline is. Because especially if you have a huge battle, a huge fight, and the sci-fi and the graphics are actually lacking, you then kind of take away from the scene in and of itself.
Yeah, and you lose the escapism element of it. Yeah, and one thing is like with the 1984 Dune movie, which was, I can't remember the name of the director, but it was very arty, or at least they tried to be. With this, they try and do that as well. So, for example, there's a scene that looks like it's in black and white. It looks like there's 2 fighters in a Colosseum dueling with blades. It looks completely black and white. I don't know if that necessarily will be black and white in a movie, or it's just like them choosing certain colors to display things. When directors have like big weird lights coming through windows, and it adds like certain weird feel and vibe, and it just sometimes movies can just be beautiful to look at regardless of the dialogue, regardless of the soundtrack. Just really good camera angles and good use of lighting. So very keen to see how that plays out. This, I think they might take a different tone in part 1. Maybe they'll be a bit more experimental.
And one thing I want them to have is like the theological elements that I remember speaking to Josh and also yourself that the theological elements of Dune is a key part of the whole book series, and hopefully that's something that's within the film itself, because you do see it in Game of Thrones, and I think that's another reason why fans love Game of Thrones, is that you still see the theme within Game of Thrones of like people will do whatever they want or can to keep and to take power from others.
Yeah.
And like you can't just have, and I think the trailer is an amazing trailer, but I think you could kind of see some of the theological discussion in the trailer, but I'm hoping that in the film they actually go full into it, so then it's not just like on the surface good fighting evil, him trying to get revenge for his family, but more going into depths of like, what is this going to cost him, and how much destruction is he actually going to have to because he even said this is our crusade, like how much destruction is he going to wield on the galaxy because of the path he's now decided to take?
Yeah, really good on that you picked up on that, because like literally just speaking about the boys, it's kind of this is less a spirit of the times and more like a theological discussion about power and religion. And this man, he says people think I'm a prophet, and some guy's like, use it, to get to power, and it's like then power corrupts all. And I will say the books are so philosophical. I would say they get more philosophical as time goes on. Like when you get to God Emperor of Dune, which is, maybe the 6th or maybe the 5th or 6th book, it's like almost like 70% philosophy, but very grimdark, very cool. I'd highly recommend reading the books. But it's cool because this is the element that this science fiction universe has. Mass Effect has the element of really good detail on like the alien races and stuff. Dune has the religion aspect of it, Warhammer as well to an extent, but as well as also neo-historicism, like basically the Roman Empire in space. And the religion on top of that. Yeah. Star Wars, I guess, I wouldn't say religion, but more spirituality.
Yeah, and I think like good and evil. I think if you look at Star Wars, I think it's high fantasy sci-fi. Like you kind of see elements of Lord of the Rings within Game of Thrones. Within Star Wars. Yeah. Within Star Wars, the fact that the big bad and also the redemption arc that Darth Vader takes upon, that he then becomes Anakin again just before dying.
Yeah.
And then like with Star Trek that we discussed a few months ago, that it's more of like what humanity should be, and also talking about elements of what are the best parts of humanity that can take forward into the future, especially with
that's the best part of humanity, the cash money.
And also, audience, if you could provide us more with the best part of reality, we'd really like it. So if you could subscribe to us on Patreon.
That's why I keep put that soundboard on today. Just plug in endlessly. Yeah, good point. What's the best parts of humanity take forward, and also what's going to be the worst parts we take forward? So very keen. I think this will be a lot more philosophical, because that's the part of Paul Atreides is he prescience, the spice, this drug that people have, it gives you visions of the future, but he just sees bodies piled high and fanatics burning people in his name. And it's almost like, if you suddenly just realized you had all this power, it's like, what would you do? So any other thoughts about Dune before we move on to something also very deeply philosophical called Grand Theft Auto 6?
I would say that hopefully they do more films and they go into the other books. Maybe even turn it into maybe an HBO TV series, because I think it is a franchise that I think deserves a lot more love, especially just speaking to yourself and also Josh as well, that it paved the way for Star Wars, it paved the way for Warhammer, it's paved the way for so many different franchises that it deserves its own time in the sun as well.
I think so, but I just wonder if it'll have a cult status and be as catchy. I think the books, to an extent, have like not a cult status, but like they're very popular. But will it be like Star Wars? Will it be like, well, Mass Effect's just a video game, but they should make a TV show. Amazon probably will at some point on Mass Effect. Yeah. but will it be as catchy? Because the soundtrack's cool in it, but one thing I remember saying is it's not as catchy as, say, Binary Sunset or the guy who did Lord of the Rings. It's cool, but it doesn't have like that catchiness, and I think that might be a metaphor for like the actual just the movies themselves. We'll see what comes out of part 2, but they definitely will make more movies. It's just whether will they achieve the heights of cult status as Star Wars, because maybe the religious stuff's a bit raw. Because, for example, they don't say Crusade in this trailer either. They did say it in the trailer for the first Doom, but then completely cut it out of the movie itself. And same as did they say Crusade?
I believe he said, "This is my crusade." I think he did say that.
Fair. Maybe they decided to put it in now. We'll see if they've taken because they did that with the trailer for part 1, but they didn't put it in a movie. I wonder if they'll do that for the movie of part 2, just not mention it, because talking about Crusades and etc. is probably a bit too recent in memory, and I'm not talking about the Crusades in the medieval times. It's a hard word to swing around these days, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, well, time to move on to something equally as philosophical, nice and materious, and just damn right cool and sexy. Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yes.
So very excited. Let's get the trailer up and have a look-see. And I always love the Grand Theft Auto trailers. They have a good soundtrack playing in the background.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that they have done, is that they always work well with music, especially having music within the games, whether if it's like Vice City or San Andreas or 4, like the soundtracks is unbelievable, and you always remember like the different songs that play within them.
Yeah, when you're in a car mowing down pedestrians. But yeah, there's some cool moments actually. It does feel like you're kind of driving, but the Vice City soundtracks I listen to at home sometimes is a really good one I'll send to you that's just like bangers. Like they cultivated those playlists really well, and the dialogue as well from the presenters is always
the radio stations.
It's so satirical. Whenever you're ready, my lord.
I'm good.
Okay,
3, 2, 1.
Oh yeah,
very
cool. Good soundtrack as well. So many things to pick out there, but I'll let you go first. Oh well. Never mind. Go on.
I would say like it really did, from people who are like from like Miami, they said it really does capture the whole Florida Miami vibe. And I think even like the coloring of like everything that takes place, so especially when it starts off with that Miami like sunrise and sunset that has the colors used for like Miami Vice. And I think as soon as I heard, I was like, oh, they must be going back to Vice City. And I think one thing I really did like about it is that there's so much stuff that you can just go through the trailer and see, and being able to pinpoint and say, oh my days, if that's a part of the game, that'd be amazing. Like the potential that they could be like mud sports or mud wrestling sports, or even like to the actual races that they had on the bikes as well. That could be another part of the game. And I think
hopefully the animals as well, actually having wild animals, because they could just take the Red Dead engine for like the grizzly bears and just put it on the alligators.
100%, and even like there's alligators in Red Dead Redemption as well.
Oh, perfect!
Especially the second game, and I was just thinking like, how much is this is in game? How much is it cinematics? But then I remember that they rarely ever use cinematics. Yeah, they try and use as much in game as possible. Like especially with GTA 5, they use as much in game as possible.
So that's good. So this should be a fairly accurate reflection of how the game will look. That's cool. That's a good point to make. I do hate it when you just see the cinematic scenes, and some games it's like the cinematics are just completely different graphics to like StarCraft, the StarCraft games, for example, which makes it cool. It's really cool to see the cinematic scenes in those universes, but the trailers are always a lie. A key thing to point out is, unfortunately the release date is 2025, so if anyone was hoping that 2024 would be a good year for games just because of this, well, they've got a long time to wait. The main reason why they released this teaser trailer so early is because the leaks that were coming out. So there's actually gameplay footage online that's been leaked. It still looks pretty good. Graphics look great as well. But you got to remember all the stuff we're seeing in this is like the cinematic stuff, but it's probably the in-game graphics as opposed to just the cinematic graphics. Some other key things as well. Yeah, you're right. It is Vice City, and it's Vice City in Leonida, which is obviously just Florida, but obviously I can't call it that. So it'll be the swamps and stuff, and you get a lot of that sort of Florida Man vibe. You know about Florida Man? Yeah, exactly. Just
especially the guy running from the police.
And just crocodiles wandering around into stores and stuff. I like it. It's got that sense of humor to it. One thing that came out very clearly on social media is a lot of the inspiration that Rockstar took for making this is from actual real videos that are trending around on social media.
Oh, okay.
So, there's a scene of a woman twerking on top of like a car that's just moving at speed. That's also on social media. The woman who's got the two axes in her hands is like got some clothes on. Is like, well, look who's back. That's also from social media, like some crazy video.
Someone did say that might be a major element of the game because like you did see like some people like posing for a camera. And they said that, the driving scene at night with the woman who's like up outside of the car on the side like that, they said that could be the main character and that maybe one of the missions or some of the missions in the game is to try and get like a more following on like social media. I think real. And I think one thing that I do like about GTA is that they always try and take things, even if it's like in the past for like Vice City or San Andreas, things in the past that happened and bring it into the game, or like the newer games, especially like GTA 5, try and bring in like stuff from the real world into the game. Like, for example, they had Pear into the game. And I think if I remember it right, you had a mission to like kill like one of the CEOs of one of the companies.
Yeah, it was a social media one, wasn't there? Yeah.
And like they actually take that element and bring it into the game. And I think fans are saying it could be, I think Rockstar saying it's going to be the biggest map that they have.
Really?
And it's not just going to be my Vice City, Miami. It's also going to be like, as you said, the Everglades, where you have like Crocs, one of the worst places because it's not just they've got crocs, they've got gators, and they've got like Burmese pythons as well.
Oh right, okay. So you might get snakes. Yeah. That's cool. It'd be good to see more of an integration of animals in this because I can't remember in GTA 5 are there animals in.
There are because
Los Santos.
Because Trevor, because like each person has their own like thing they do on the side.
Yeah,
and like I know you can do like a triathlon. And Michael loves to do like his tennis and also his jogging as well. And one of the things that Trevor does is he goes hunting. And I think that's where they got like some of the hunting stuff they then put in like Red Dead Redemption 2. He would like go up to, I think it was probably like North California to do like hunting of like deer and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, cool. God, it's been so long since GTA 5 came out.
Yeah, over 10 years.
Yeah, such big gaps, isn't it? And even then, there's been so many like updates for it, like the first-person shooter stuff they brought. I've never actually played it in first person, but it looks cool. And I did see in the leaked footage for GTA 6. They're obviously going to include that as well. So I wonder how different the gaming experience feels when you play it in first person. Have you played it first person one of GTA?
No. Yeah. I haven't played it. No, but that probably is like another element to it. And I think it would actually be a cool way to play, especially like in the fight scenes or the shooting scenes. It'll then make. And I think it might be similar to like Cyberpunk, the way that's fully like 100% first person,
right?
And like with either if you're fighting or shooting in or driving, well apart from driving where it's then third person, but then everything else is in first person.
Yeah, that's fair. I'd be keen to see. I wonder if different playthroughs. Maybe I'll go back and play GTA 5. It's been so long. I can't wait. One thing that I really want to find out is would this be cooperative? This game, because you see, there's like, well, first of all, you got a female protagonist, Lucia, who's the first female protagonist in any GTA game, as far as I know. But then you've also got that guy who's like, we do this together, like trust. Yeah. I feel like it might bring in some maybe. Because I know, like, GTA, because I never had online for GTA 5, which is a shame, because that's such a big part of the GTA experience. but it's a long story. GTA 4 played so much online with friends. That was great. And there were like cooperative elements, but it wasn't cooperative story and stuff. It wasn't just you. It's always like, you could do just you and one other person, but it's better to have more. I wonder if this will be like cooperative story as in local play, like San Andreas, you know, how it wasn't even split screen, it was shared screen, which was a bit problematic at times, but still very fun. I wonder if they'll have like local cooperative play for GTA 6. Well, definitely have it online, but well, we'll see. But I think that would be really cool. That's one new element they could add to the GTA universe. So, so much to get into there. Like, I can't wait.
Yeah. And I think people have said like this is the last like gaming like major franchise that fans can like believe in, because like people were believing in like CD Projekt Red, but then when the game came out for Cyberpunk 2077 that messed up, and then like people believing like Mass Effect, and then that
Andromeda,
then you've got like Call of Duty, people are tired of that. So like a Baldur's Gate 3 was like a brand
game
new
of the year now as well.
Was a brand new revelation for like the whole gaming industry, and set a huge new standard. And I think like the reason I think they might have taken so long is they also need to realize that they have to hit out the park. Like the progression between 4 and 5 must be the minimum progression between 5 and 6. Or fans will just be like, oh yeah, it's a really good game, but it's not as good as 5. And I think that's the major issue at times, is that when you have a hit like 5 was, then how do you then go further and go beyond that?
Yeah, build upon it rather than either doing the same thing, which is good, but people get fatigued, Marvel, or, you know, how do you do something new without changing the core concept, but building upon it so that way you don't piss off fans and remove features, which it's happened to a lot of series, like Red Faction, for example. So yeah, I think maybe what GTA's got going for it as well is they're not like Call of Duty, who release like a new Call of Duty almost every year, and are now actually, because like for example, the current Call of Duty is Modern Warfare 3,
which is a rebranding of a franchise that was a Modern Warfare franchise as well. That people actually, and
it's
like,
a bit tired. It's like, what number are we on now? And like, it's like but there's been Modern Warfares. It's like,
and like, there was even a story that I read that on Steam, people were like review bombing Modern Warfare 3, the new one, but mistakenly clicking the wrong one. The previous version, So they were review bombing the previous version, which they hadn't played, and then people were like, no, that's Modern Warfare 3 that came out in the 2010s, not Modern Warfare 3 that came out in the 2020s.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that's probably an easy mistake to make. Imagine they bought it online and like, I paid how much? Steam should put up the price of the old Modern Warfare and just make some money out of people's silly mistakes. We should. I don't know how we haven't done this, but Grand Theft Auto episode, that's coming up. We've got to do that. Fallout. We'll do more video game based stuff, because that's something we have been playing the side down a little bit on whilst we talk about TV shows and movies and just lore in general. That would be very keen. What has been your like favorite Grand Theft Auto game, would you say?
I would have to say mine would be Vice City, because that's the one that that's the first GTA game I actually played. So like, I got nostalgia. And I got into like playing GTA pretty late, and one because I didn't have like a console, so then my PC wasn't as good, so I couldn't do like, I tried like playing GTA 4 when it came out, but it was like all buggy, and you know the situation sometimes for those who have like PCs that the actual sound is slower than the actual pictures.
Oh, right. Your frame rate's too slow.
Yeah. So then I was like, let me go to Vice City. And then that's the game I played and really enjoyed, and then would play over again. Then I played like San Andreas. And then when I then got like an Xbox 360 quite late, I then was able to play 5. Okay. So then Vice City was what actually brought me into the franchise and actually got me really liking the game.
No, fair. I guess the soundtrack is popping in it, isn't it? I never actually played Vice City, maybe once or twice at friends' houses, but for me it's got to be San Andreas, because the cooperative element was just so cool playing that with a mate, because it meant one thing that you you can play Grand Theft Auto with friends because they can just watch over your shoulder and you just go on a shooting spree and you take it in turns and doing silly stuff, and you drive your car really fast and jump out and then bump around and you just lol at the physics of it. So you can even though it's not like split screen or multiplayer at home, it is kind of, you could sit there and watch it with a friend. But just San Andreas was groundbreaking with the co-op thing, which was I was a bit disappointed that wasn't in GTA 4, GTA 5. So that's why I'm really hoping for GTA 6, because I will damn hell buy a game. I've been playing on a laptop, gaming laptop, which is a terrible idea. They get outdated so quickly and you can't upgrade them easily. I will buy a games console if GTA 6 is split screen multiplayer. Hell yeah. In fact, I might just get one anyway, because I think PlayStation's 5s at least have gone down a bit.
Yeah, they have.
Compared to 2 years ago, I guess. God, that's how much time it's been.
Yeah. And like one solution that you could do is something called GeForce Now. So basically, NVIDIA, the ones who make the graphics cards, have developed an online. I know Google tried to do it, but theirs failed. And I think there's been other schemes like it, where if you've got a strong enough like broadband, that you can actually just play the game online.
No, yeah, that's
so then
right.
you can kind of like you can buy the game on Steam and then play it online, because I know that's how Jeffrey plays like Baldur's Gate, because like his laptop isn't powerful enough. But what he does is that because he's bought it on Steam, he can then use GeForce Now to then play the game that he wants to play.
And yeah, because I remember hearing about this was like Apple brought out a gaming service that would have been all online. So I need to talk to you afterwards actually, because this opens up a lot of possibilities. Cool. Well, that's a good way to get around the gaming laptop issue. I thought that was a bad investment, but turns out it might be a good one.
Yeah.
So it will be, as I said, 2025, no fixed date, but generally cannot wait. And one thing I can't wait is the soundtrack. It's just a key part of it, especially with like the commentary from the radio show hosts as well. It's always the spirit of the time sort of thing they pick out on so many things. As you say, like also the idea of selfies and mobile phones, like how you could take selfies in GTA 5 and I think 4 to an extent.
And like I was just listening on YouTube, like the radio show host on Vice City Radio, and it was just like how hilarious some of the sounds is like, oh, this woman that was a conservative who was like, you know what, I as a mother, and then I think the funny thing was like she was like telling like a whole life story, and she was like, you know what, and I, even though daddy's gone off with his secretary, I still keep the home as a woman should. And I was just like, just cracking up laughing, because like when you play it, you don't actually fully listen to the words because you're too busy playing the game. But then when you actually stop and listen, it's like how hilarious it is.
Yeah, I think it's when especially listening to it on YouTube. I listen to it whilst I work sometimes, or when I'm painting. I'm like, oh my God, how did I not notice this? But I guess I was a kid back then, like playing Vice City. So it's amazing how much goes over your head. An interesting thing to think about as well is my eldest brother's a former policeman, but even when he was a policeman, he had GTA on Xbox. And I don't know, he was at a dinner party and someone there just kind of wanted to, maybe didn't take offense, but kind of wanted to generate conversation. Just like, she was like, do you think it's appropriate that a police officer plays Grand Theft Auto, knowing what you can do in it? And it's just like an interesting question to ask, but it's like, you know, it's like I'm not a police officer, I play GTA, but I don't go out there and start shooting everyone down with an assault rifle, you know. And I guess important part of Grand Theft Auto is it's kind of a release, isn't it?
Yeah. Because to your point, like there was a major point that they were saying, oh, is GTA bringing increased violence among young people? That was a major aspect. But all the studies say that no, it's actually reducing it, because the fact that people have a release, and because of that release, they then are less likely to then go out and then commit acts of violence. And I think people are starting to realize, no, it's social media. Social media is the one now that is then causing more, because for example, if someone's playing GTA and they're angry, they can take their anger out on a character that doesn't hurt them at all. Or like at times, just video games in general, whether it's you enjoy playing FIFA or you like playing UFC or NBA 2K or Call of Duty, that is a release of stress. But social media, for anyone who uses it, adds more stress. Like, I don't know how someone could be like, oh, I go to social media because it relieves me of stress. Like, no, like, be on social media for 10 minutes and you'll be more stressful, especially Twitter, more stressful than you were before.
Yeah, that's true. And I think a part of it is just the anxiety that social media puts on you and that you should be doing this. Everyone else looks happy. And like also social media, these dumbass challenges that come out every year, like the Tide Pod challenge as well. Eating Tide Pods is like, sorry, is it video games that are bad? And scientifically, video games help reduce stress. They release serotonin. Of course, there's issues with as with anything in life. You play video games way too much. It is addictive. But then again, you do too much of anything in life, it's bad for you. So everything in moderation, I think video games have a very important part to play in us, just our well-being and feeling good.
Yeah, because people said it's just a new form of medium, the same way that movies came in and radio came in for music, movies came in for books as well. Games have now taken over from movies, and they're basically doing the same things that books have been doing for years. And like the purpose of video games is people living out their own fantasy within their own form of setting. So whether it's FIFA, someone who wanted to be a football player can then envision themselves as a manager or football player, or someone on GTA envisions that they could be a bank robber and a drug dealer at the same time,
or beating up everyone in Staten Island,
and then being a real estate person who sells drugs on the side and has bank robberies. But then it is like a way for people, as we both said, like release stress.
Yeah, release stress, or just like sometimes just the idea of intrusive thoughts and just like, what if, you're just walking through somewhere and like, what if? But then this is kind of a way of you to do that without, doing something stupid and doing something in real life that's just too far. Like, it'd be nuts. There's weird enough that TV show Luther, there's a serial killer in that who bases their what they do on video games, and that's probably given a voice to all these people that video games are violent and bad.
And the funny thing is most of the people who say it don't play video games. And like, when you then pinpoint and you're like, but what about Pulp Fiction? Did that increase violence? That's a very violent film. Or people who love Game of Thrones, you say, but Game of Thrones is violent. Vikings is violent.
Cartoons, man, like Tom and Jerry, like literally Jerry hitting Tom with a frying pan.
Or cutting his tail off with an axe.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, I guess with like really young kids, maybe that might be a danger, because they're so impressionable and they don't know right and wrong. They have to be taught.
And another thing is like, they're like, it's so bad that these kids are playing these games. And you're like, but they're an 18. The same way that you wouldn't want a young child to watch Pulp Fiction or to watch Game of Thrones. You as a adult can limit what a child can access to. Like, for example, it's probably easier to watch Game of Thrones than to play GTA, because you need to have a console and install it on it.
You need your mummy and daddy to buy that for you.
But literally, you can watch scenes of Game of Thrones on YouTube or just online, or even pirate it. And even like pirating video games is a lot harder now than it used to be.
And it's awkward because kids generally have a bit more of an understanding on like how to find things on the internet than adults. Like, for example, in school, they block all the games websites and the naughty sites, but we always found a way to get onto them. Like, not very kosher to tell you on this podcast, but I'll definitely tell you afterwards some very silly stuff we found.
Like, for us, we realized that we couldn't install games, but if we installed it onto a memory stick, we could, especially if it was an old game. So it was weird. Like, all of us were playing like Age of Empires 2, we were playing like the first Quake, we were playing like the first Wolfenstein, because we realized if we install it on a USB, and we just all have different USBs, we can just play it straight off the USB and they can't block us.
So I think that's the next level.
Yeah, so like, people who you would never think would ever play Age of Empires were like, they were playing it because they're like, it's the only game they could get away with playing because it was so small. Yeah. I think it was like 300 megabytes, so it could fit on a USB.
Oh, clever. I'll have to remember. When I've got kids, I'll give them a USB stick. At least I know what they're playing, nothing over 18, 18 plus. Well, I guess we got to bring it to an end there for our review of all the trailers we've had recently, and just our hopes for what's coming out next year as well. It's been a very great year. And we'll say we'll be bringing out some more gaming related stuff as well. We're going to trial a couch party game session episode coming out very soon where me, Josh, Jeffrey, and hopefully a fourth person will chill and just play some couch party games. Games such as Tower for Ascension, Rubber Bandits, and also some other games that are slightly different, like Jackbox. Jackbox is really good, a good selection of mini games. So hope you can tune in for that. That'll be very fun. I guess as we call this to the close, because this will be our last podcast of 2023. Josh, what would you say has been your favorite thing this year? Be that a video game, a TV show, or a film?
I'd have to say Baldur's Gate 3.
Of course.
It's just like, as you said, it's won like video game awards. It won the best game of the year. It's won multiple awards. I think the BAFTA Video Game Awards, I think, are next year. I think it's earlier. So they'll probably win that as well. And I think it just changed the game in just video games. It's an independent video game. Mm-hmm. It was early access on Steam for more like 3 or 4 years. So I've been able to then see the game develop. And I think just the way that it's cared about the fans and it's constantly taking fan feedback. And that's one of the things that it seems like video games had gotten away from, was actually caring about the audience, and we're more caring about how much money we can make off these people with loot boxes and also like
releasing games too early with all these glitches.
Or the one that you love so much, like releasing a game and then getting you to buy so many parts of the game as DLC.
Bloody like, EA, we're looking at you.
And the fact that there are no DLCs, and like the fact that the way that they did it is that if you paid for the game in early access, you got the classic edition, which gave you the soundtrack, which is amazing. It gave you free posters. It gave you like in-game like weapons, which are really good as well. So it was just giving back to the fans who had supported it from before it had made it basically had made it mainstream. And I think like games, that's what games are supposed to be. But I'm just hoping that many studios learn from it, like specifically Mass Effect, because they've got 2 of the biggest RPGs with like Dragon Age and also with Mass Effect.
BioWare.
BioWare takes it up and learns from it and then says, we actually need to engage the fan base more. It's like, we're not really making the game to make money. That's not the direction. We're making a very good game that we enjoy. And just based off, like, I watched a video by Rick Rubin, who's a music producer, who's produced some of like the biggest songs for like the Beastie Boys, for Jay-Z and for other people within music. And he said that he makes beats not to sell. He makes beats that he would love to listen to. And he says that is why that's the art form of it. Like, if you're making something to sell, then that's just like a consumer. That is just like you making a cake to then sell at Sainsbury's. There's no art in it at all if you're just making something to sell. But if you're making it for your own enjoyment, then, or for the enjoyment of someone else, then it's actually an art form.
I know, you just suck all the life out of it.
Yeah.
Same thing for like me, like just doing my art and stuff. It's like people keep saying, "Oh, you could make money out of this," and I'm like, I could, but then am I going to lose some sort of fulfillment out of it? You know, then you start looking at things in terms of how much as a product rather than as art.
Yeah.
So, good thing to remember. I guess quickly in terms of what my favorite thing has been this year. It's kind of like, I can't really think of anything like fancier science fiction, which is really tough. I think news-wise, probably that Warhammer will be doing a TV show. Hail to the new Warhammer rulebook coming out as well, very specific. This is just coming off the top of my head. The real thing I just love this year is, have you seen a movie called The Triangle of Sadness?
No.
I watched it 3 times this year. First time was this year as well, but 3 times. Absolutely brilliant dark comedy movie. It's not science fiction, it's not fancy. It's just kind of like that South Korean movie Parasite. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Similar to that, but a bit more comedic. It's like mostly English language, but it's just so funny. But also like has some really poignant messages about society, just like Parasite did. Yeah, damn it, I didn't prepare for this question at all. Video games wise, I haven't been playing a lot of video games this year, actually, which is a shame. But I would probably say Warhammer 3 because I bought that, I think, at the start of the year as a little New Year's gift. And yeah, did not regret it. Fantastic game. Still playing it. In fact, it's the only game I play. Kind of sad, really, but I know it's good. I love strategy. Okay, folks. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up there, but it's been a fantastic year, 2023. Certainly better than 2020, that's for sure. I'm sure we can all agree on that. And as we go forth into 2024, I could just say we've done a lot. We've been to Comic-Con. We've gone through a reorganization. We've upped our viewership and subscribers. As part of Pick Up the Mic, we celebrated getting 1K subscribers, which is a really big deal when you're starting out as a creator. So we're very happy about that, and we hope to proceed as we have been going.
Yeah, and also the new studio setup as well, which is a lot nicer with actual natural light and not feeling like you're in a bunker for 2 hours.
Yeah, like in Downfall, yeah. Exactly, it's nice to have a bit of natural light. I do like the new studio. That is a big change. And, the usual spiel, I love you guys. See, it sounds so genuine when I have to say it every time. But honestly, we can't do this without you guys, And your likes, your subscriptions, it all means a lot to us. Obviously, if you donated to our Patreon, that would mean a lot more to us because we're materialist people, because we like cash money. But